Alright, everybody, welcome to the Truth Hertz Show. I want you all now to break out your yarmulkes and the Talmud. Today we're going to study the Talmud. Lots of great stuff in the Talmud. I mentioned, I think it was yesterday, how Judaism, that is, Talmudic and Kabbalistic Judaism, is absolute filth, disgusting trash, that it is in fact an evil religion, and it is. Don't worry, I'm an equal opportunity condemner. I've been talking about corrupt televangelists the past couple days. Eventually I'll get to all of them. But today we're going to talk about Judaism. Why would I make a statement like that Judaism, Talmudic and Kabbalistic Judaism, is evil? Because it is. It is. And I don't care if I'm called anti-Semitic for making that statement. It's a fact. And, you know, to say that that's anti-Semitic is a complete display of ignorance, because Semitism has nothing to do with Judaism, or vice versa. Judaism is a religion. Semitism has to do with race. When you talk against Judaism, Kabbalistic and Talmudistic Judaism, you're not speaking against a race, folks. You're speaking against a religion. And it's interesting because the Zionists like to talk about Islam all the time, how Islam is evil, and somehow that doesn't amount to anti-Semitism. But Islam, which is mostly an Arab religion, you know, Arabs are Semites. So for the same reason that Talmudistic Jews or Zionists like to talk against, like to say that speaking against them or their religion is anti-Semitic, then why don't Arabs say that speaking against Islam is anti-Semitic as well? You know, they could do it for the same reason. I'm so tired of the propaganda, the misuse of terms to manipulate people, to take advantage of their ignorance. There's nothing wrong with speaking out against religion. People do it all the time. But somehow they don't want you to speak against Judaism, which is the most evil religion. We hear so much about how Islam is such a terrible threat. Oh, knock it off. There's no greater threat in the world than Judaism, Talmudistic and Kabbalistic Judaism. Anyway, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. What is the Talmud? What's in it? And why would I make such an anti-Semitic statement to say that Talmudistic Judaism is evil? Because it is. We're going to look at the Talmud today to see just how incredibly evil it is. Most Jews, by the way, don't even know what's in the Talmud. They just squeak out little, you know, paragraphs or verses here and there from the thing. And you can go through your whole life going to temple and never know that it's loaded with trash. You know, the only ones who have access to it are rabbis. You can't go anywhere today and buy a copy or the series of volumes of the Talmud. Anywhere. It's not available. In Hebrew or in English. It's just not available to the average person. And for good reason, because it is in fact loaded with crap. This is why they keep it out of the hands of the average Jew. They don't want them to know, because most Jews, you can bet, would leave the religion if they knew how evil this thing is. So stick around, guys. We're going to be delving into this and discovering what truly is the most evil religion on the planet. Stick with us. Be right back. All right, guys. Welcome back to Truth Hertz Radio. You know, it's disgusting that you even have to go through disclaimers like that. You know, like what I did before the break. I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm not against Jewish people. You know, America has been so intellectually depraved, reduced to the lowest common denominator, that you got to spoon feed people stuff. You can't just say, hey, I hate Judaism. It's an evil religion. You can't say that without going through this long diatribe of explaining what you mean when you say that, why you say it, and how you don't hate, Jewish people, and on and on and on and on. It's ridiculous. But yet you can speak against Islam, or pretty much any other religion, and they're not going to jump on you as being, ethnically prejudiced. It's just nonsense. The propaganda that people are inundated with in this country. Anyway, but let's dive into this discussion of the Talmud here. Doing this will help us to understand, by the way, how it is that a lot of the elites who are Talmudistic Jews, how they're able to do what they do without a conscience. They actually believe, some of them are outright atheists and, don't care either way, but the religious ones don't care either because their philosophy comes from the Talmud, which teaches them that God embraces abuses of Gentiles, that God actually put Gentiles here for them to abuse and use and misuse and exploit and on and on and on. In fact, there's some passages in the Talmud that actually imply that God is displeased if they don't, abuse and exploit Gentiles. So let's talk about the Talmud. The Talmud consists of 63 books of legal, ethical, if you can call it that, and historical writings of the ancient rabbis. It was edited 5 centuries after the time of Christ. It's basically a written form of a much more older oral tradition that dates back to the Babylonian captivity, roughly 500 BC. It's a compendium of law and lore. The Talmud is the legal code, if you will, which forms the basis of Jewish religious law, and thus it is the textbook, if you will, used in the training of rabbis. The Talmud gets its name from the word lamud, or taught, and so Talmud means the teaching. The Talmud is a very important work in Orthodox Jewish religion. It's really the focus of it. They don't so much even use the Torah or the books of Moses. It's more the Talmud. The Talmud is supposed to be a commentary on the book of Moses. The book of Moses is supposed to be the centerpiece, and the Talmud is just a side note. But it's actually, for a great many Jews, become the other way around, where the books of Moses are a side note, and the Talmud is more the focus of their religion. And it's disgusting, folks. The Talmud is filled with corrupt filth. So let's dive into this here. Rabbi Joseph D. Soloveitchik, I love these pronunciations here, is regarded as one of the most influential rabbis of the 20th century, the unchallenged leader of Orthodox Judaism, and the top international authority on halacha, or Jewish religious law. This rabbi was responsible for instructing and ordaining more than 2,000 rabbis, an entire generation of Jewish leadership. The New York Times religion reporter Ari Goldman described the basis of this rabbi's authority thusly. He said, Soloveitchik came from a long line of distinguished Talmudic scholars. Until his early 20s, he devoted himself almost exclusively to the study of the Talmud. He came to Yeshiva University's El Canon Theological Seminary, where he remained the preeminent teacher in the Talmud. He held the title of Lieb Merkin, professor of Talmud, sitting with his feet crossed in front of a table bearing an open volume of the Talmud. New York Times, April 10th, 1993, page 38. Yes, the Talmud is viewed with great reverence by many sincere religious Jews. Once again, this Rabbi Soloveitchik was and still is revered as one of the top rabbis in the past century, and his whole philosophy comes from the Talmud. I elaborated on him just so you can see how important Talmudism is to modern Judaism. But what many don't realize, as I said before the break, even many Jews don't realize, is that the Talmud is filled with a multitude of incredibly false and downright evil statements which force us to conclude that this work is anything but sacred and holy. Nothing holy about it, folks. It's, once again, quite corrupt, quite evil. Its philosophy is totally antithetical to all that is good and wholesome. So anyways, let's take a look at some of the... and by the way, you know, what we're going to be looking at is only a few representative statements. There's a lot more scattered throughout the volumes of the Talmud. It's permeated with stuff like this. I'm just looking at some of the more commonly known examples. The Talmud gives instruction on where a Jew should commit evil. In Moed Katan 17a, we read, "If a Jew is tempted to do evil, he should go to a city where he is not known and do the evil there." This is absolutely astonishing. And lo and behold, folks, a lot of Jews, a lot of rabbis, I should say, who have access to the Talmud, do this. Of course, we see in the Catholic Church, too, don't we? Where, you know, a priest will be convicted of, you know, rape or pedophilia or something, and the next thing you know, if he gets caught, you know, the church will simply move him to another diocese, or at least that's how it used to be until this thing got blown wide open. Now, just for PR purposes, they're taking a little more strict stance. You know, they'll defrock them or whatever. But before, they would just move them to another... by the way, that hasn't changed in third world countries, just in this country, where they've gotten a bad rap in the press in recent years, you know. But it still goes on in other countries, you know, third world countries particularly. They'll just move them to another diocese. They'll do the same thing there. If they get caught, they'll move them again. The church traditionally has protected priests caught in scandals, is my point. And so we see this with the Talmud, too. The Talmud embraces this. This is where the idea comes from. You want to commit an act of evil, just go to a town when you're not known and do it there. Unbelievable, guys. Unfreaking believable. Short break. Stick with us. We'll be right back. All right, folks. Welcome back. Let's look at what the Talmud says about the penalty for disobeying a rabbi. From Erubin 21b, we read, "Whosoever disobeys the rabbis deserves death and will be punished by being boiled in hot excrement in hell." Woo! That's so vivid, isn't it? Unbelievable. And this is inspired scripture. This is what they're taught. The Jews are taught to believe that the Talmud is inspired scripture. Now, you know, this isn't something you're going to commonly be hearing from the pulpit on a Sabbath morning in the temple. But it's there. It's there. The rabbis certainly know this and believe it. And they do teach strict obedience. They might not quote this. They'll quote other things. But, I mean, listen to this. This is supposed to be inspired by a loving God. Whoever disobeys the rabbi is going to burn, not just burn in hell, but burn in hot excrement in hell. Yeah, I wonder where they're going to get all this excrement from. Probably from the Talmud. Anyway, hitting a Jew is the same as hitting God. We find this in Sanhedrin 58b. It says, if a heathen or Gentile hits a Jew, the Gentile must be killed. This is official Talmudic teaching, folks. It's okay for a Jew to hit a Gentile, but Gentile can't hit a Jew. And do you see where the ADL and, you know, other Jewish or Talmudic agencies get their crybaby mentality from? You can't make fun of Jews! You know, they did Mel Gibson there, pressuring him so that he didn't include in his Passion film the line where the Jews said, you know, his blood be upon us and upon our children. They didn't want that in there. They pressured him. He was going to put it in. He wanted to portray an accurate, give an accurate portrayal of, you know, the life of Christ, or at least the sufferings of Christ in his movie. And they wouldn't allow it. He finally caved into pressure. They made all kinds of threats. And, you know, they don't want anything bad to be said about Jews. as though no Jew in history has ever committed a crime. You know, this is another thing that gets me. You can talk about the Italian mafia and how evil it is. And there's no Italian group out there that's going to attack you and say that you're against Italians because you talk against the Italian mafia. You know, most Italians don't like the Italian mafia and what they do. You can talk against the Russian mafia, and the Russians aren't going to be in a tiffy over it. You can talk against the Chinese mafia. The Chinese aren't going to have a fit. But if you talk about the Jewish mafia, i.e. the bankers on Wall Street, they're going to come down on you with a vengeance and call you anti-Semitic. It's ridiculous. But this whole philosophy, once again, guys, comes from the Talmud. The Talmud teaches them that they are superior. In fact, non-Jews are subhuman, according to the philosophy in the Talmud. Anyway, let's move on. The Talmud says it's okay to cheat non-Jews. Again, this is why we see so much cheating going on, outright sleazy theft going on, by Goldman Sachs, for example. In Sanhedrin 57a, we read, a Jew need not pay a Gentile, or a Cuthian, the wages owed him for work. Notice, they admit the wages are owed to him for work, but a Jew need not pay what is owed him. This is their version of morality. And why? They think they can get away with it because Gentiles are subhuman. Only Jews are real humans. Gentiles are just animals put here to serve the Jew. That's Talmudistic philosophy for you folks. Talmudistic morality. That's what runs the business world, because the business world is run by Talmudistic Jews. Jews have superior legal status, according to the Talmud. Baba Kama, wasn't there a song written about this once? Baba Kama Chameleon? Baba Kama 37b says, if an ox of an Israelite gores an ox of a Canaanite or a Gentile, there is no liability. But if an ox of a Canaanite gores an ox of an Israelite, the payment is to be in full. Once again, a Jew owes nothing to a Gentile if a Jew wrongs a Gentile, but a Gentile who wrongs a Jew, oh, the payment must be in full. Jews may steal from non-Jews, according to the Talmud. Baba Mazia has this to say in 24a. It says, if a Jew finds an object lost by a Gentile or heathen, it does not have to be returned. But heaven help a Gentile who finds an object lost by a Jew if he doesn't return it. We find the same thing in Sanhedrin 76a, which says, God will not spare a Jew who marries his daughter to an old man, or takes a wife for his infant son, or returns a lost article to a Cuthian, or to a Gentile. God will not spare a Jew who returns a lost article to a Cuthian. So you see, not only does God not mind if a Jew keeps an article lost by a Gentile, he will not spare him if he returns it. God requires Jews to keep items found by a Jew that were lost by a Gentile. God demands it, or he will punish the Jew if he doesn't do it. It's just astonishing. Moving on. Jews may rob and kill non-Jews. Sanhedrin 57a says, when a Jew murders a Gentile or Cuthian, there will be no death penalty. What a Jew steals from a Gentile, he may keep. Baba Kama 37b has this to say, the Gentiles are outside the protection of the law, and God has exposed their money to Israel. God has exposed their money to Israel. So, you know, Talmudic Jews can steal money from Gentiles, according to the Talmud, and that's okay, because God has exposed their money to the Jew. God has given their money over to them for them to use as they please. Do you see now why they do what they do, folks, in the business world, mostly run by Talmudistic Jews? Do you see why they get away with it? And why they want to silence anybody who questions what these Talmudistic Jews are doing?
and call you anti-Semitic and even get you arrested. That's what's going on in many other countries and soon to happen here with all the hate crime legislation that they keep trying to ramrod through Congress. And each time it gets shot down, they come back with 10 other ones. And if those get shot down, they'll come back with 20, then 30, 40. They're going to do it eventually, folks. Why? Because A, they're relentless scoundrels, and B, the American public is dead asleep. Unbelievable. They're going to get laws passed in this country that will soon make it impossible for you to question what they do. Won't be able to air shows like this without getting arrested. Do you see now why country after country, century after century, so many Jews have been thrown out of countries? This is why, folks. And don't get me wrong, it's been a tragedy because very often the ones targeted are innocent low-level Jews who don't know what the heck's going on. They're just trying to earn a living and feed their families like you and I. It's the high-level Jews that know this stuff, what's in the Talmud, and conduct their philosophy accordingly, that run the big businesses and the banking industries and on it goes. But very often nothing happens to them. It's the low-level Jews. But nevertheless, there have been good reasons why Jews have been expelled from so many countries. All right, guys. Short break. Be right back.
All right, guys. Back on Truth Hurts Radio. As I was saying before the break, this is how it's gone all through the centuries. It's always been innocent low-level Jews that caught the rap, but the ones at the top levels who rigged everything and screwed up societies after, time after time, they walked away scot-free. So it was under Hitler's regime. And even though, the oppression of Jews was nowhere near on the scale that we were told it was, nevertheless, it did happen. But Hitler's main objective was just to get Jews out of Germany, like what had been done so many other times in history. They just want them out. You're wrecking everything, get out. And, but of course, he targeted, as always, like so many times before through history, he targeted low-level Jews. He didn't go after the high-level Jews. What people don't realize is his chief financiers were the Warburgs that ran the Reichsbank, for crying out loud. They weren't sent to the camps. The Warburgs. You don't get more Jewish than that. All the while they were funding him. Hitler actually had Jews in his SS. Eichmann, folks. And there were others. Anyway, moving on to the Talmud here. Jews may lie to non-Jews. Well, seeing that they can steal from them and kill them with impunity, according to the Talmud, why not lie to them as well? But nevertheless, let's look at what the Talmud has to say. In Baba Kama 113a, it says, Jews may use lies or subterfuges to circumvent a Gentile. Such great words of wisdom from the Talmud, yeah? Here's another one. Non-Jewish children are subhuman. You want to know why the Israeli soldiers can open fire on Palestinian children on a daily basis without a conscience? This is why. The Talmud says in Yabamath 98a, all Gentile children are animals. Aboda Zara 36b says, Gentile girls are in a state of nida, or filth, from birth. From Aboda Zara 22a through 22b, it says, Gentiles prefer sex with cows. Oh, yeah, such great words of wisdom. Holy wisdom at that, because this, after all, is the Word of God. It's astonishing, folks, that those who speak against the policies of Israel, once again, are called bigots or purveyors of hate speech, isn't it? When, once again, there's plenty of reasons to hate Talmudistic Judaism. Plenty of reasons. This is why they got to stop you before you even think of questioning what they do or teach, by passing hate crimes laws, because they know that their religion is filth, that the Talmud is filled with trash. So they got to silence you. Once again, folks, anybody who tells you you can't speak against them, you better take a closer look. When they start trying to pass legislation to silence criticism of themselves,
That's all the more reason to criticize them, all the more reason to be critical and to hold them in high suspicion. Anyway, the following Talmudic excerpts are particularly interesting, seeing that there are so many Christian Zionists that support Talmudic Judaism. Absolutely astonishing, folks, that Talmudistic Jews are viewed as brothers by mainstream Christianity, that they consider Judaism a sister religion. In fact, you hear the term Judeo-Christian all the time, as though the two are either synonymous or so closely akin that you might as well consider them synonymous, when in reality, the greatest enemy of Christianity is Judaism. Talmudistic Judaism. They hate Christianity. They hate Christians. Go to Israel sometime and see how much freedom Christians have there. Even Jews, a lot of Jews don't have a very good life if they don't accept the Talmud or the Kabbalah. Anyway, Mary, the mother of Jesus, according to the Talmud, was a whore. In Sanhedrin 106a we read, "She who was the descendant of princes and governors played the harlot with carpenters," referring to Mary. Gloating over Christ dying young, we find this in the Talmud. Sanhedrin 106 we read, "Hast thou heard how old Balaam," which is the word here for Jesus, "hast thou heard how old Balaam was? He replied, It is not actually stated, but since it is written, bloody and deceitful men shall not live out half their days, it follows that he was 33 or 34 years old." So, to them, that's something to gloat over. Again, whether you're a Christian or not isn't the point here. The point is, so many Christians look up to Judaism, Talmudistic Judaism, because that's pretty much all Judaism is anymore, for the most part. They look up to it as a kindred religion, and here it is making these statements about Christianity. Jesus and his disciples are claimed to have been profoundly immoral. For example, on the website of the Orthodox Jewish Hasidic Lubavitch group, Chabad Lubavitch, Lubavitch, I think I had it right though the first time. Anyway, I'm going to be doing a show on them sometime, guys. What a filthy, disgusting collection of trash they are. Anyway, on their website, which is one of the largest in the world, by the way, we find the following statement, complete with Talmudic citations. Quote, "The Talmud," Babylonian edition, "records other sins of Jesus the Nazarene," and then it lists them. Number one, he and his disciples practiced sorcery and black magic, led Jews astray into idolatry, and was sponsored by foreign Gentile powers for the purpose of subverting Jewish worship. That's from Sanhedrin 43a. This is officially admitted on the Chabad Lubavitch website, folks. Number two, he was sexually immoral, worshipped statues of stone, a brick is mentioned, was cut off from the Jewish people for his wickedness, and refused to repent. Sanhedrin 107b, Sotah 47a. And again, if you listen to people like Joan, he'll have you believing that the most evil religion on the planet is Islam. Yet, folks, in Islam, you will never see anything even remotely approaching what most Christians would consider blasphemy that you find here in the Talmud. Rod Parsley, on and on and on. These phony televangelists have their audiences convinced that the most dangerous threat to Christianity is Islam. Islam respects Christ. They call him a prophet. But in Judaism, well, I won't get ahead of myself, but you won't believe what the Talmud actually calls Christ. It's unbelievable. Anyway, number three, he learned, meaning Christ, he learned witchcraft in Egypt, and to perform miracles used procedures that involved cutting his flesh which is also explicitly banned in the Bible. This is Shabbos 104b. And again, the website is www.noahide.com/yeshu.htm. Again, the Lubavitch website. That was posted June 20th, 2000. I'm sure it's still on there. They're proud of this stuff. They boast about it. Sanhedrin 43a says that Jesus, or Yeshu, also we find this in Sun Sino footnote number 6, Yeshu the Nazarene, says that he was executed because he practiced sorcery. It is taught that on the eve of Passover, Jesus was hung, and 40 days before this, the proclamation was made. Jesus is to be stoned to death because he has practiced sorcery and has lured the people to idolatry. He was an enticer, and of such thou shalt not pity or condone. Direct quote again from the Talmud. The Talmud goes on, as if that isn't bad enough. Jesus is in hell, according to the Talmud. In Gittin 57a, it says that Jesus is in hell being boiled in hot excrement. They love talking about hot excrement in the Talmud. Have you noticed? A bunch of twisted perverts. All right, guys, another short break. Stick with us. We'll be back with some more filth in the Talmud when we get back. All right, everybody, welcome back. Shalom. Let's look at some more attacks on Christians and Christian books. Again, it's necessary to go through this, whether you're religiously inclined or not, because it's important to, the Zionists get most of their support in this country from the Christian world. This country is predominantly, quote, Christian, and so if you can dupe these gullible Christians into thinking that Talmudic Judaism is something good and wholesome and that the state of Israel needs to be supported, run by Zionist power-hungry pigs, then you've got this whole country in the bag, and they do. And for this reason, they've convinced gullible Christians that they need to support the state of Israel. So that's why it's so important to show the animosity in the Talmud toward Christianity, toward Christ and Christianity in general. If you can show this to the Christian world, the gullible sap Christian world, the followers of Pat Robertson and Joan Hagee, if you can wake these slumbering fools up to what's going on, hopefully we can stop their support and actually keep that, whatever it is, $12 billion of our tax money here, instead of sending it over to that sleazy country. Then again, we need to stop all foreign aid. All foreign aid's a fraud. It never goes to the people that are in need. It goes to the corrupt leaders to keep them compliant. That's all it is. It's bribe money, folks. Rake, what a scam. You talk about taxation without representation. They take our tax money and send it overseas. There's no accountability. The money's never even paid back. We don't know how that money's being used. Can you believe this? Can you believe this? This country started essentially, from protesting a tax that only amounted to between 1% and 3% of your wages, depending on how much tea you drank. If you didn't drink any, then it didn't amount to any of your wages. But in any case, it wasn't imposed. It was a voluntary tax. You simply chose to pay it if you wanted to buy the tea. If you didn't want to pay the tax, you don't buy the tea. So it wasn't a tax that was imposed, and it only amounted to between 1% and 3% of your wages if you drank tea. Today, we have the fraudulent income tax, which is imposed, and if you don't pay it, they'll send a SWAT team to your door. Even if you do know what you're talking about and take them to court and win, they'll still harass you relentlessly. And it amounts to at least 33% of your wages. 1/3 of your flipping wages go to pay this illegal tax, and then they turn around and send it overseas to a country like Israel that profess to be our friends, but they're actually enemies of the United States, and stage fake terrorist attacks against us all the time to sucker us to fight their enemies for them, on and on and on and on and on. Do you see this is unbelievable. Look at the contrast. This country started over a tax that was minuscule, and it wasn't imposed. Today we have a whopping tax. It's illegal, and it's yet imposed on us, and the American public is greasing up, bending over, and taking it in the hind parts. It's unbelievable. They're embracing, they're welcoming this abuse. Where is that spirit of revolution of 1776, folks? Where's the spirit of resistance? I'm not going to put up with it anymore. Boy, they've really done a job on this country, let me tell you. Got a nation of crybaby little wimps cowering in the corner. Yes, sir, whatever you say, sir. Yes, Mr. Government. Yes, Mr. Obama. We like the way you lie to us a lot better than the way Georgie boy used to lie to us. And you have whiter teeth, too. Oh, my God. Anyway, attacks on Christians and Christian books. Oh, by the way, I got to throw this in there, too. Understand, I'm not speaking anything against Judaism here or Talmudism or whatever. I'm quoting from their own sources. I'm letting them condemn their own selves. And no better place for that than if you go outside the Talmud, if you go to the Encyclopedia Judaica, or as I like to call it, the Encyclopedia Zionica. In there, they actually make this astonishing admission. Shows how dumbed down mainstream Christianity is. They state in the Encyclopedia Judaica that the Talmud is but the written form of a much older oral tradition that dates back to the Babylonian captivity, and that the teachings embraced in the Talmud are those that were taught by the Pharisees in Christ's day. Isn't that interesting? Tell that to your local Zionist, Israel butt-kissing Christian neighbors and friends and family members. Anybody wants that quote, email me, I'll send it to you. I have it in my Zionism notes. I'll be covering that topic at some point here. But isn't that absolutely incredible? Christianity is in league with Judaism, Talmudistic Judaism, which embraces teachings that were upheld by the Pharisees in Christ's day. The same spirit that nailed the Savior of, Christianity to the cross, the same principles and teachings are the ones upheld by the Judaism of today that follows the Talmud that these Christians are in league with. It's unbelievable. What a bunch of fools. Anyway, in Rosh Hashanah 17a, it says that Christians, or mimim, that's what they're called in the Talmud, mamim, and others who reject the Talmud will go to hell and be punished there for all eternity, for all generations, is the word in the Talmud. From Sanhedrin 90a, we read that those who read the New Testament or uncanonical books will have no portion in the world to come. Shabbat 116a informs us that Jews must destroy the books of the Christians, i.e., the New Testament. Dr. Israel Shahach of Hebrew University reports that the Israelis burned hundreds of New Testament Bibles in occupied Palestine on March 23rd, 1980. This is in Jewish History, Jewish Religion, page 21. They hate Christianity, folks. They hate Christ. They hate Christianity. They hate Christian books, the Christian New Testament. And yet, once again, astonishingly, there is mainstream Christianity, or churchianity, as I like to call it, totally in league with, totally in bed with Judaism. You get your Joan Hades and your Pat Roberts praising Israel on a daily basis, cursing those who don't bow before Israel, and saying that God will curse this nation unless we support Israel. And here it is, they're embracing, doctrines held and taught by the Pharisees. They're teaching that Christ is evil, and it's just unbelievable. Anyway, moving on here. Let's look at some, it just gets worse and worse the more you look into this. Let's look at some real sick, and I do mean sick, and outright insane teachings in the Talmud. You know, I did this show on another network a couple years ago, and one of the listeners emailed me afterwards all upset. How dare you speak against the Talmud? He challenged me to a debate, and we wound up having it on Kevin Barrett's show. And anyway, he kept saying, I'm going to destroy you. I'm going to eat you alive in this debate. When we finally had the debate, he conceded afterwards that, that he lost. He had to. He actually dug his own grave. He had the opening statement. And in the opening statement, he admitted that, he said, while there's some great teachings in the Talmud, I do have to admit that there's a lot of things in there that I don't agree with, that are not very wholesome, and the Talmud does contradict itself. That was it. He lost the debate right there before I even opened my mouth. And I pointed that out to him when I was given the floor. I said, quite frankly, I says, I don't see how you think you could ever win this debate now when you just admitted, and rightly so, you had to, and I'm glad you did, that you were honest enough to make that admission. I kind of felt embarrassed for the guy because, that dragged on for another, I think it was a 2-hour show. And everything he said after that was just neutralized by his own comment. It's true, folks. It is filled with contradictions and all kinds of evil statements. We'll get back to some more of those. Some even worse ones when we get back. All right, guys. Welcome back to Truth Hertz. I just got a text message from a friend of mine in the, I think he's in the Netherlands. Anyway, he's like, what's going on? I just tuned into your show, and I find that you're halfway through the broadcast. Yeah, for my European listeners, we have daylight savings time that took place Saturday night, which means we set the clocks ahead an hour. So, yeah, you want to take that into consideration. You're going to want to tune in if you want to catch the live broadcast an hour earlier than you ordinarily would. Anyway, let's move on to talking about sick and insane teachings of the Talmud. In Gittin 69a, we find that to heal his flesh, a Jew should take dust that lies within the shadow of an outdoor toilet, mix it with honey, and eat it. I'm all for alternative medicine, but, sorry, I'm going to draw the line right there. Can you believe this? To heal your flesh, or only if you're Jewish, I guess. Doesn't work for Gentile. But if you are Jewish and you have flesh that needs healing, just take some dust only in the shadow of an outdoor toilet. This sounds like something out of a Wiccan training manual, It's witchcraft. Take dust from the shadow of a toilet, outdoor toilet, mix it with honey, and eat it. What if somebody missed the bowl and actually urinated on that soil outside the toilet? I guess it doesn't matter. You're still going to get healed. You might get an upset stomach, but Shabbat 41a has this gem. Here we find that there's a law regulating the rule for how to urinate in a holy way. So apparently, if you do eat some of that soil outside the bathroom that was urinated on, if you urinated in a holy way, I guess it's okay. Might taste the same, but you're not going to be harmed because the urine is holy. How to urinate in a holy way. There you go. See, just when you thought you heard it all, folks. Yabamath 63a states that Adam had sexual intercourse with all animals in the Garden of Eden. Wow, Adam must have been a Gentile. I always wondered about that. I guess he obviously was, because we're also told in the Talmud that Gentiles have intercourse with cows. So there you go, folks. Now, I'd like to know how they explain how the Jews can be so sacred and special and exalted above Gentiles if they descended, like all other human beings, according to the Old Testament, from one man, Adam, who was a Gentile. Oh, the mysteries abound. I'm sure the Talmud has an answer for that somewhere, though. Anyway, in Yabamath 63a, it declares that agriculture is the lowest of occupations. Wow. Wow, I guess Talmudic Jews must not eat anything grown by farmers in that case. Sanhedrin 55b tells us that a Jew may marry a 3-year-old girl. Specifically 3 years and a day, it says. So don't marry her on her birthday. Wait till the next day, and then you're Talmudically acceptable. Be right back, guys.
All right, guys. Back to Hertz Radio. Just when you thought it couldn't get any more sick, brace yourselves, strap yourselves in. Sanhedrin 54b. Now, keep in mind, we just read that it's okay to marry a 3-year-old girl, but you got to wait till she's 3 and 1 day. But now, we read in Sanhedrin 54b that a Jew may have sexual intercourse with a child as long as the child is less than 9 years old. Can you believe this? It's there, folks. Look it up. Sanhedrin 54b. A Jew, not a Gentile, a Jew may have intercourse with a child as long as the child is less than 9 years old. So you can marry them at 3 and 1 day, and you can have intercourse with them as long as they're less than 9. Somehow, when they turn 9, it's not acceptable. But prior to that time, it's okay. Then we have Ketubah 11b, which says, when a grown man has intercourse with a little girl under 3, it is nothing. That's interesting. So you have to wait till they're 3 and 1 day to marry them, but it doesn't mean anything. It's of no consequence if you actually have sexual intercourse with them under the age of 3. Just don't marry them. Oh, my God. I just, you know, I'm not even going to comment on it because it's just so flippin' disgusting. I'm going to puke on my computer and short-circuit the thing. But it's there, folks. You want to know why Judaism, why I say it's the most evil, filthy, corrupt, abominable, satanic religion? This is why. You know, you don't even find this stuff in Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible, for crying out loud. He's not even this brazen. Yebomoth 59b states that a woman who had intercourse with a beast is eligible to marry a Jewish priest. A woman who has intercourse with a demon is also eligible to marry a Jewish priest. Isn't that kind of redundant? Sanhedrin 54b and 55a says that if a man commits sodomy with a boy less than 9, they are not guilty of sodomy. Oh, well, that only makes sense. If you can have intercourse with a child under the age of 9, why not sodomy with a boy? Sanhedrin 69b says that a man who has sexual intercourse with a boy less than 8 does not commit fornication. So apparently there's something going on between the ages of 8 and 9. You can be 8 in 1 day, and then 1 day short of 9. You can do anything in that age range. It doesn't matter. I don't know, man. Are you starting to see, folks, why this text is not made available to the general public, or even to the average Jew, for that matter, while it's kept locked away only in the hands of the rabbis? It's never seen the light of day and never will. They cannot allow people to read this stuff. They know it's filth. Oh, boy. But, you know, the top elitist Jews, they know this, and they conduct themselves accordingly. This is why, you know, the Rothschilds, for example, have lived the abusive life that they have, raping and pillaging everything in their path for centuries on end now, without a conscience, because their secret Talmud tells them that it's okay. Aboda Zara, section of the Talmud, 17a, states that there is not a whore in the world that the Talmudic sage Rabbi Eliezer, or Eliezer, has not had intercourse with. On one of his whorehouse romps, no wonder they say it's okay, because they do it themselves, folks.
On one of his whorehouse romps, Rabbi Eliezer learned that there was no particular prostitute residing in a whorehouse near the sea who would receive a bag of money for her services. He took a bag, or he learned that there was a whore near the sea. Anyway, he took a bag of money and went to her, crossing 7 rivers to do so. During their intercourse, the prostitute passed gas. Sorry, folks, this is disgusting, but yeah, it's there. And so it's necessary to reverberate this. So you can see just how disgusting this book is. While there, the prostitute passed gas. After this, the whore told Rabbi Eliezer, "Just as this gas will never return to my anus, Rabbi Eliezer will never get to heaven." Oh, God help me, man. I every time I read this, my eyes just pop out of my head in amazement. This stuff is recorded in the Talmud. There's all kinds of filth and trash in there. Unbelievably evil stories, teachings, statements, and outlandish, like the urinating in the shadow, or what was it? Taking dust from the shadow of a outside latrine, and or urinating in a holy way. Anyway, from Hagiga 27a, we find that no rabbi can ever go to hell. So on the one hand, the Talmud talks about this prostitute, stating that this rabbi is going to go to hell because he was so evil, had intercourse with so many women. Now we find that a rabbi can't go to hell. So hey, there you go, rabbis, live it up. I guess I don't have to tell you, you're doing it anyway, and your Talmud certainly has been telling you. Yeah, live it up. You can do no wrong. You can't go to hell. No one is to question you. No one is to go against your teaching, so they're going to go to hell themselves. My God, people, it's unbelievable. And you wonder why you hear about so much abuse. You hear a lot, or have been hearing a lot, haven't you, about sexual indiscretions, abuses in the Catholic Church, right? Priests engaging in pedophilia and getting it on with women in the confessionals, on and on and on and on. But you almost never hear about rabbis doing this, but it happens all the time, folks. Happens all the time. And again, you see this in all religions, of course. However, understand that the Talmud embraces this. It actually commands them to do it. It rolls out the red carpet for them to do it. It sanctions it. Makes it as though it's a good thing, a godly thing, a holy thing. Yes, you have ministers in all different faiths that do this stuff. But again, folks, in Talmudic Judaism, it's endorsed by their so-called sacred holy book, the Talmud. In Baba Mazia 59b, it records a story of where a rabbi debates God and defeats him. God then admits that the rabbi won the debate. All right, short break, folks. Be right back. All right, guys. Back on Hertz Radio. Let's look at what Gittin 70a has to say. It says that the rabbis taught, quote, on coming from a privy or outdoor toilet, a man should not have sexual intercourse till he has waited long enough to walk half a mile, because the demon of the privy is with him for that time. If he does, his children will be epileptic. Now apparently this doesn't work with Gentiles. Gentiles, you don't have to worry. You can still go from the bathroom to the bedroom, you might want to wash up a little bit, but nevertheless, you don't have to walk a half mile, because you're demons anyway, apparently. But a Jew, in order to be cleansed from this demon of the bathroom, the toilet demon, let's call him, got to walk half a mile. Unless you don't care about having epileptic children, of course, in which case it doesn't matter. In Gittin 69b, it says that to heal the disease of pleurisy, or catarrh, in the Talmud, whatever that is, pleurisy, a Jew should, quote, take the excrement of a white dog and knead it with balsam, but if he can possibly avoid it, he should not eat the dog's excrement as it loosens the limbs. So, if you can possibly avoid it, don't eat the excrement. I know how tempted you're going to be to do so. I don't know. Maybe Talmudic Jews are tempted to eat dog excrement. I don't know. I've never asked them. Maybe that's appealing to them. In any case, I don't think I'll accept the invitation from my local rabbi to go over for dinner this evening. In Gittin 69b, it gives the rabbinic cure for anal worms and bladder stones. The male sufferer is to hang a louse from his male organ, and then urinate on thorns. Woo! Yeah. I suppose if you're a female victim of anal worms, you're out of luck. I don't know what you're supposed to do. It doesn't seem to be any remedy prescribed for women. But if you are a male Jew, again, Gentiles, you're out of luck. Sorry. You're going to be stuck with those anal worms in perpetuity. But if you are a male Jew, the cure for anal worms, once again, I hope you're taking this down, and for bladder stones, too. You simply hang a louse from your male organ and then urinate on thorns. That'll do it right there. That'll take care of it. Presto, magic. Again, doesn't it sound like we're reading from, some witchcraft spell book? Man, oh man, oh man. Let's go on here. Pasahim 112b says that epilepsy is caused by standing naked in front of a lamp or having sexual relations with the light on. Yeah, there's a joke in there somewhere, but I'll spare you. Epilepsy is caused. Now, gee, that's interesting. I thought epilepsy was caused, what was it now? From, we just talked about that a minute ago. Oh, from, wait a minute now. Where was it? Oh, yeah, if you come from an outdoor toilet, and you don't walk half a mile without having, you have to walk half a mile before having intercourse. If you don't walk that half a mile and have intercourse right after coming out of the bathroom, then your children will be epileptic. But apparently, you can also develop epilepsy from sexual relations with the light on. Oh, dear God Almighty. All right. Nadarim 20a forbids talking during sexual intercourse because it causes deafness. Would that include ecstatic moaning as well? I'll have to call Rabbi Dimwitz later and see what he says. Then we have Pesahim 111a. It teaches that it is forbidden for dogs, women, or palm trees to pass between two men. Nor may others walk between dogs, women, or palm trees. I would like to know how you can pass palm trees before dogs, women, or men in the first place. Anyway, special dangers are involved if the women are menstruating or sitting at a crossroads. Oh, man, where do they come up with this stuff, folks? You know, it's so enslaving. And sure, you can argue that most religions are. Most religions are, filled with all kinds of ridiculous, legalistic, stringent requirements, but I don't think any of them can top Judaism, folks. I had a friend years ago was a strict adherence to Talmudic rules, And the guy was as sincere as they come. I don't think he has any clue, like most Jews, what's in the Talmud. But anyway, I remember before we would eat a meal, he would have to go through this ceremonial washing. And, I didn't say anything to the guy, but, boy, I sure was tempted. Felt like saying, what are you doing? Why are you going through all of this? It's so ridiculous. They make up these crazy rules, and they got people. It's so ridiculous that one of the rules forbids you to tear toilet paper off the toilet paper roll on Shabbat, or the Sabbath, because it's considered work. So what you do is, the Friday evening before sunset, late afternoon or whatever, you will tear off, 50, 60, whatever sheets of toilet paper, so you can use that during Shabbat, but you can't actually tear it. Apparently, there's nothing wrong with wiping your hind parts. You just can't tear off the toilet paper. It's forbidden according to, rabbinical law or Talmudic law. What's another one? Some of them are so strict they don't open their refrigerator on Shabbat, or if they do, they'll unscrew the light bulb, because that's considered a violation of Shabbat. The light bulb actually going on. That's interesting. Apparently, the reasoning there is somehow it's causing people to work on Shabbat. The electric company, for the light to go on. But doesn't that defeat the purpose of having the refrigerator plugged in? You're still using electricity. Why not unplug the refrigerator and risk the food going bad so you can keep Shabbat? I mean, it goes on and on with ridiculous rules like this. And there's people that totally live by it, just enslaved by it. I don't know, folks. I just don't understand how people can let themselves be suckered into crap like this. It's pathetic. Very pathetic. Anyway, Gittin 70A states that eating beef and turnips causes fever if it is done in the summer moonlight. But again, I guess this is just for Jews. So Gentiles, eat to your heart's content beef and turnips in the summer moonlight, and you'll be all set. You're cursed anyway. You're only put here to serve the Jew. Short break, guys. We'll be right back. All right, guys. Welcome back. Yeah, I was mentioning the ceremonial washings earlier. Can't we legitimately call that OCB? Obsessive compulsive behavior? It really is. They even dictate what you can wear. You can't mix cotton and wool. You can't have cotton and wool together, or polyester. So you have to make sure your outfits are, doesn't matter if the colors don't match, as long as you have the right combination. Oh, gosh, what? They just make this stuff up off the top of their twisted little heads. I think that beanie cap has fried their brains. They just make this stuff, make it up. And people are convinced. Well, then again, isn't that how most religions operate anyway? Make stuff up and convince people that it's from God and you must do it, you must follow it to the T, or you're going to burn in hot excrement in hell, apparently. Moed Katan 18A claims that not burying cut fingernails causes miscarriages. Ha! See? Oh, gee. Yeah, people all this time thought it was toxic waste, in a nearby dump, or pharmaceutical products or whatever. No. Silly people. It's simply not properly disposing of your cut fingernails. Your fingernail clippings, son of a gun. I always wondered about that. Now we have the answer. Thank God for the wisdom of the Talmud. Moving on. Barakoff 61A says that everyone has 2 kidneys. All right, folks, I'm back. Sorry about that.
I hope I'm coming in. Wow, that was weird. We had some kind of power outage just for a split second there. The power went out. That was very strange. My apologies. I have no idea what that was. I know there's been power outages all over the place around here because of the storm with the flooding. And I'm assuming that it's related to that. I don't know. Who knows? It was only for a split second. It was just really weird. Anyway, give me a minute here. I got to open up my file again and figure out where I left off. That's a pain in the neck. Anyway, I'm assuming I'm coming in. I hope I'm coming in. Let me check here. Somebody, I believe, just sent me PM. If I can find it. Where'd it go? Yeah, I'm all discombobulated here. Hold on here. Yeah, I guess I'm coming in. All right. Anyway, man, that was just really bizarre. Very bizarre. Okay, yeah, I guess I am coming in. Thanks, my buddy there in Netherlands. All right, let me just scoot down here. I think I was on page 8 or 9. Oh, gosh, what a pain in the neck. It's crazy, too. I mean, the power didn't go out the past 3 days that we actually had the rain and the wind. Now that the sun is out and the rain has stopped, now the power goes out. Maybe somebody does not like my Talmud show. Well, too flippin' bad. Anyway. Well, I guess I wasn't on page. What page was I on here? All right, let's see. I think I got it here. Baba Bathra 73b says, according to... Yeah, wait a minute. That's ahead of where I was. Where the heck was I? Let's see. Nadarim. No, geez, I was further back than I thought. Okay, I think I read Hagiga 27a, which says that no rabbi can ever go to hell. Yeah, I read that. The story where the rabbi debates God and wins the debate. Yeah, I was significantly after that. Rabbinical cure for anal worms. Okay, I'm getting warm. Sorry, folks. Epilepsy is caused by standing naked in front of a lamp. Yeah, I did that one. Forbids talking. It is forbidden for dogs. Yeah, I read that. Jeez, now where the heck was I? Okay, eating beef and turnips. Yeah, no, I went there. Come on. Okay, according to rabbinical, I guess this is where I left off. Barakoff 61a says that everyone has two... Yeah, this is where I left off. Okay, folks, I'm with it now. Thanks. Sorry about that. Barakoff 61a says that everyone has two kidneys. One inspires us to do good deeds. The other one inspires us to do bad deeds. Well, they're right about the two kidneys thing anyway. But they're responsible for our actions and the motives behind them. Baba Kama 16a teaches us that hyenas turn into bats after 7 years, and that they later turn into thorns and demons. Ooh, wow. Talk about evolution. There we go. Baba Bathra 73b says, according to rabbinical eyewitness accounts, that some antelopes grow as big as mountains, and that some frogs grow to the size of fortresses. Well, you know you can trust that if it's according to rabbinical eyewitnesses. We know rabbis can't lie. They certainly can't sin, so we can trust that source. And since rabbis beat God in debates, you know, you don't even need God. You got the rabbis. Just worship them and let them have intercourse with your kids. As long as they're over the age of 3 and 1 day and younger than the age of 9, it's okay. Especially if they're Gentile kids. Anyway. Let's see. From Sukkah. Yeah, Sukkah, all right. You're a Sukkah if you buy into this crap. From Sukkah 29a, we read that solar eclipses are caused by improper mourning of the death of certain rabbis
and that lunar eclipses are the result of raising small cattle in Israel. Oh, my God. Rainstorms, too, by the way, according to the Talmud, are caused by God shedding tears over the sufferings of Israel. Well, I guess Israel must be suffering a lot lately. We got a lot of rain here the past few days. Too bad he doesn't weep over the Palestinians, though, according to the Talmud. All right, guys, short break. Be right back. All right, guys, welcome back. Let's move on to Sanhedrin 76b, 76a, which states that a man is not guilty of murder if he causes a deadly snake to bite someone. Only the snake is guilty of murder and should be executed. Apparently, that just applies to Jews once again, though, not Gentiles. Sanhedrin 77a and b teaches that a man isn't guilty of murder if he ties someone up and they starve to death, or if he ties someone and leaves them in front of a hungry lion. All he's doing is tying them up, and, it just happens that the lion decides he's hungry and wants to eat him, but he's not responsible for the death. He just tied him up. There you go. Talmudic morality for you guys. The license to do, well, just about anything you want, as long as you're a Jew, and especially if you're a rabbi. You cannot sin. Barakoth 59a says that earthquakes are caused by God's tears falling into the ocean as a result of Israel's suffering. Okay, this is the actual quote. I guess I slightly misquoted it before. Earthquakes are caused by God's tears falling into the ocean, which causes the earth to tremble, and thus resulting, or as a result of Israel's suffering. So there you go. The next time we have an earthquake, all we need to do is watch if there's a tremendous downpour somewhere over the Atlantic or the Pacific or whatever, and that'll account for the earthquake. We got it all figured out. Now, I wonder where harp fits into all of this. Can harp divert God's tears crying over Israel's suffering? Yeah, whatever. Menahoth 43b and 44a says that a Jewish man is obligated to say the following prayer every day. Thank God for not making me a Gentile, a woman, or a slave. Well, there you go. That's why they don't prescribe the cure for anal worms for women in the Talmud. Women are of inferior form, according to in fact, they're downright detestable, according to the Talmud. Thank God, a Jewish man should say in prayer every day, that I am not a Gentile, a woman, or a slave. How disgusting. And once again, isn't it ironic that, Islam is so attacked in our media? That's all we hear about is how evil Islam is. It's the greatest threat to our peace and our safety and our security. Blah, 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 blah. And yet, in reality, the biggest perpetrators of terrorism, orchestrators of terrorist attacks, is the flippin' Mossad. The Jewish religion is far more despicable than the Muslim religion. In fact, you'd be hard-pressed to find any religion on the planet that can compete with Talmudic Judaism in its depth of evil. Anyway, I love this one. In the Talmud, guys, we find real tall tales of a Roman Holocaust. Here are two early Holocaust tales from the Talmud. In Gittin 57b, it claims that 4 billion Jews were killed by the Romans in the city of Bethar. Gittim 58a claims that 16 million Jews, Jewish children, in fact, specifically, were wrapped in scrolls and burned alive by the Romans. Ancient demography, folks, indicates that there weren't even 16 million Jews in the entire world at the time, much less 16 million Jewish children. And there certainly weren't 4 billion Jews, as stated in Gittim 57b. There probably weren't even 4 billion people on the entire planet, all during the entire history of the Roman Empire. It looks like the modern exploitation of the Hitlerian Holocaust to gain sympathy for the nation of Israel, folks, is nothing new. This is a game they've played over and over again. Did you know in World War II, I gotta look it up now. I'll be talking about this on a future show. I got it in my notes. There was an article, I forget the paper now. I think it was a London paper, but there was an article where the Jews were claiming that 6 million Jews were murdered during World War I. And then, of course, it didn't fly, so they kind of dropped that and waited until World War II came along, and then they made that claim about that war. But as I will document on a future show, folks, the Hitlerian Holocaust, for the most part, is a complete fraud. It did not happen the way that we were told. I got a whole show on that. I won't go into the details now, but it's all designed to make themselves look like victims. The elitist Jews, the bankers, the ones that run the show. So they can hide behind the cloak of victimization when in reality they're the victimizers. They're the ones that are engaging in genocide, mass extermination, particularly the Palestinians. But, it's not just the Palestinians they go after. A great many other countries, the elitist Jews have waged war against through the U.S. military. And again, I'm not putting words in their mouth. I'm telling you what they themselves have admitted. If you go to the pages of the Jerusalem Post and Hertz, they'll tell you that Israel is primarily responsible for us getting involved in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and a great many other conflicts we've been involved in over the years. Not just to make big fat wads of cash and steal their resources, which is exactly what has been done, but also simply to just take those countries over as they build their global empire. The New World Order, folks, involves a lot of people that, are from various backgrounds that aren't, Jewish per se, although I'll argue that all globalists are Zionists, all of them, even if they're not of Jewish descent or don't have Jewish Khazarian last names. It doesn't matter. They're all Zionists. The Rockefellers, for example, they're not Jews, but they are Zionists, pro-Zionists. Rockefellers, the Rockefeller Fund, as I stated, I think it was yesterday, they funded the creation of the Schofield Study Bible, where we have the origin of the mainstream Christian eschatology, which teaches that the state of Israel, created in 1948, was the fulfillment of Bible prophecy. Why would the Rockefellers fund that? Because they're hardcore Zionists. Freemasonry, folks, as we know it today, is another Zionist/Jewish creation. And that's admitted. If you go to the writings of Albert Pike, he boasts that the philosophy of Freemasonry, as we know it today, grew out of the Kabbalah. And if you go to the Encyclopedia Judaica, they state that Freemasonry is a brother fraternity of Judaism, i.e. Zionism. So when we're talking, the Illuminati, when we're talking Freemasonry, we're talking Judaism, folks. We're talking Talmudism and Kabbalism. It's all tied in. This goal for global domination was spelled out in the Kabbalah and in the Talmud long before all the other latecomers came onto the scene. The ones who gave birth to the New World Order, I'm talking way before Weishaupt. If you take it back to the beginning, there were those who wanted world government even before that, but in its modern manifestation, its roots trace back to the Babylonian captivity. And then later, when these traditions were written down in the Kabbalah and in the Talmud, But the goal of world government is explicitly stated therein. This goal was in place long before all of these other, latecomers came along. They're just assisting the Zionist cause. But the New World Order is literally a Zionist cause. Interesting that even a lot of truthers who know about the New World Order don't mention that, but that's the facts, Jack. All right, if you want the notes, folks, send me an email. I'll send them off to you. Have a good day, and we'll catch you tomorrow. Take care.